Welcome back to Next Gen Console Watch, our show following all the news and rumors on the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. I'm Daemon Hatfield, and as always, I'm joined by Ryan McCaffrey, host of IGN's Xbox podcast, Podcast Unlocked.
What's happening, Damon?
Not too much, Ryan, and joining us this week from IGN's PlayStation podcast, Podcast Beyond, is Mark Medina.
Hello,
Welcome back
everybody.
to the show, Mark. Hello there.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
The day that this episode is going live into the world will be September 30th, I believe, and it's a pretty good time to sort of take stock of the best games of the year as we head into the final quarter of the year, the fourth quarter, the most packed quarter for big game releases. But we like to do these check-ins every so often throughout the year to see, what are the games that we're going to be talking about when we're discussing Game of the Year in just a few months from now. So let's talk about what are the best games for both PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X this year. Weird year for both of these consoles. So many games have been delayed, and also, even though we're coming up on the second birthday for both of the consoles, there's just not a lot of truly next-gen exclusive experience available for either one, although I think PS5 is probably a little bit more exclusives this year than Xbox. I think you have to start off by talking about Elden Ring. Elden Ring is I think the favorite on both platforms, a third-party game, but there are next-gen versions of that game. I think if IGN were to vote today, I think if the general gaming population out there were to vote today, that's probably the game that would win right now. Mark, agree, disagree?
No, I agree. Elden Ring is a game that surprised me. I love the Souls games, but there's always been that difficulty with them that makes them very hard to kind of get through. But Elden Ring it made the game so much more approachable than what you're used to when you play a normal Souls game. And just the fact that it's an open world, but it's an open world unlike many open worlds where you're just encouraged to explore. Every time I look at the game, I see other people play, and I'm like, I've never seen that place wherever they are. And I've played 100 hours of this game. So yeah, I would definitely say Elden Ring is for sure up there.
It's also the best-selling game of the year so far. That's not, sales aren't everything, but it is a good indicator of enthusiasm in the gaming community. It's interesting, for eons and eons, Call of Duty has been the best-selling game of the year, and Call of Duty Vanguard was the best-selling game of last year, 2021, but Elden Ring has outsold it. So this year, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 has its work cut out for it if it's going to be the best-selling game of the year again. Mark, also on PS5, you've got Horizon Forbidden West. The Last of Us Part 1 is just out. I don't know if that counts or not. It's up for debate. Gran Turismo 7 was very well received. There were some hiccups at launch. Normally, I would say a racing game is not doesn't have much of a chance for a Game of the Year, but there is, of course, Forza Horizon 5, which surprised everyone last year. And then maybe some smaller games on PS5, Mark, Stray and Tunic, which is also, of course, it debuted on Xbox earlier this year. So, I don't know, of those batch of games, along with Elden Ring...
Gran Turismo 7 is no Forza Horizon 5. Yeah, I love Forza Horizon 5. I did not super love Gran Turismo 7, but it's such a different kind of game. Going into the year, I would have said that Horizon Forbidden West, nothing will dethrone that as my game of the year, except for maybe God of War Ragnarok. And that was until I played Elden Ring. So I think Horizon Forbidden West is amazing. I think it's a very good game. I think it does what it wants to do very well. Still don't think it holds a candle to Elden Ring.
Ryan, things look a little bit different on the Xbox Series X, and I think you were saying that you think maybe the best games you could play on that console this year are the next-gen versions of a couple older games. Is that right?
Yeah, and a leftover from PlayStation that's now come to Xbox. All great games, but yeah, I mean, thus far, through 3 quarters on Xbox, if you've got a Series X, it has been a rough go, certainly with regard to exclusives, and really with regard to proper next-gen games. I mean, certainly Elden Ring, that's the winner on any platform that game was on. I mean, it's at this point in time, up through 3 quarters. But I would have to say, I know it's kind of cheating, but not really, because the official Series X release of Cyberpunk 2077 happened this year in February. And we've, of course, been reading about the resurgence of that game, the updates to it, the expansion pack announcement, the Netflix show that's just on that's helping renew interest. The momentum is again on the upswing for Cyberpunk, and I would argue that's been the best Series X game, a game you can play on this console that you paid $500 for this year. But I'd also point to another one, which I know a lot of listeners or viewers are going to roll their eyes, but GTA V getting its official next-gen release. It's still one of the greatest games ever made. If you've never played it, boy, are you in for a treat playing it on Series X. And if you haven't played it in 9 years since it first came out, you're probably also in for a treat on the Series X. But then I would also point to Deathloop, which just came out. Of course, it had been a timed exclusive for PS5 a year ago. Guess what? It's still a great game. IGN gave it a 10 out of 10 review score. So that's something new for Xbox players and specifically Series X players. So I'd point to that. And then we already heard about Tunic because, as you noted, Damon, it started as a short Xbox exclusive, not exclusive to the Series X. That one's definitely not going to melt your GPU, but still a great game. I reviewed it for us here at IGN. And then another, again, new release, but kind of not because you've been able to play it for a while, but the official 1.0 final release of Grounded. Now that's being made available as a full, complete game rather than a game preview / early access game. So yeah, it's a tough list for Xbox Series X so far this year, but that doesn't mean those aren't great games.
Yeah, it's not that there's a shortage of great games. It's just maybe a shortage of exclusives and a shortage of just like the sort of like Elden Ring tier games that you would imagine would be in the discussion come Game of the Year time. There's a couple other really well-reviewed smaller games on Xbox and PlayStation as well. That'd be Shredder's Revenge, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Shredder's Revenge, and Cult of the Lamb. Both of those are very well-received, sort of indie darlings of the year.
Yeah, Cult of the Lamb is my indie game of the year.
That's your indie game of the year. Interesting.
Yeah, I love that game.
And Shredder's Revenge was on Game Pass. I had a blast playing through that with my daughter. It was a great time.
Yeah, launched into Game Pass. Very, very cool. Still to come, looking ahead over the next few months, the big one, Mark, I don't think you would argue with, the big one's God of War Ragnarok, right?
Yeah, now that Skull and Bones is delayed, God of War Ragnarok's just sitting on a throne by itself. Yeah, Ragnarok is, it's amping up. People are getting excited. I'm getting very excited. That game is, I think it's going to be very good, but we don't know. But yeah, that's mid-November.
Yep. All signs point to that sort of going up against Elden Ring in the big Game of the Year talks. There's a few other big ones coming out. Of course, there's Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 in October. And then, Ryan, there's some good games that are at least, I don't know if they're exclusives. A Plague Tale Requiem.
It's coming to Game Pass. It is coming to PlayStation day and date, but yeah, it'll be available day one in Game Pass.
And Xbox also has Scorn in October, Pentiment in November, and then Persona 5 Royal is also coming to Game Pass later on this year.
And don't forget High on Life in December, which is a game I'm personally super excited about that one. So that's I think that's a console exclusive. That's looking really promising so far.
And speaking of December, there's also still Callisto Protocol, which remains one of my personal most anticipated games. And there's also Marvel's Midnight Suns. Although, to be honest, that may miss the cutoff for our Game of the Year discussions coming into early December. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see how that all shakes out.
It's pretty late.
There are still some, it's been an interesting year for games. So much is delayed into 2023. Coming into 2022, we thought this was going to be one of the greatest years for gaming ever. Now it kind of looks like 2023 will be that, barring any more delays.
There's always next year.
There's always next year. Speaking of Cyberpunk, which Ryan was just singing the praises of, Mark, you've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk recently?
Yes, I fell into the trap that everyone's falling into, which is we watched the Cyberpunk Edgerunners Netflix anime by Studio Trigger. It's very good, and all it does is make you want to play Cyberpunk because there's just so many. It's straight up. It's a Cyberpunk 2077 anime, right? Like all of the sound effects, the soundtrack itself.
Wow.
You watch the anime and you're like, I've been here. The apartments look the same, so everything is evocative of the game, and it makes you want to play. And so yeah, I've been playing it in the little bit of a great gaming drought we have right now.
Yeah. So what was your plan? Are you playing through the whole story again, or are you just messing around with it?
So I played it originally on PC back because that was, the more stable version of the game. And so now I'm playing through it on PS5 now that we actually have the next gen version. And I'm liking it a lot. It's way more stable than it was before. In all the graphics options, I'm liking it a lot. So I'm just playing through it. We'll see if I beat it again. I've done it before, but I'm enjoying my time right now.
What would pull you? What would pull you away from it in October? Mario plus Rabbids, Sparks of Hope.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that is my
playing
current,
it until that comes out.
Until Mario plus Rabbids steals me away. That's what it is.
Got it. Okay, we have the results of last week's poll. We asked, what's the next graphics upgrade you plan on purchasing? We were talking about these fancy new NVIDIA graphics cards, the very expensive RTX 4090. There's also the 4080 series. But then we also gave you the option, are you looking to upgrade your graphics via the PS5 Pro or the Xbox Series X Pro whenever they're available? So the winning result with almost 50% of the votes was, I'm not looking to upgrade anytime soon. So most of you out there happy with your current situation, whether that's a next-gen console or your PC graphics card. But then the runner-up with almost 20% of the vote was the PS5 Pro whenever it's available, and then the Xbox Series X Pro whenever it's available. So I guess that begs the question, Mark and Ryan, when are these Pro versions coming? Next year? The year after? 2025?
Later than originally planned. That's for sure.
Later than the original.
After everything we've seen, I mean, yeah, I would bet my money on 2 years from now.
Yeah, same. I don't feel like the consoles have even been tested yet. I still feel like we're struggling to get a good amount of like testing done. It's only been 2 years, and it's like, what game has harnessed every ounce of those consoles yet? I think the consoles still have a lot more life to give to even be considering the Pro versions of either. But yeah, I would say, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years from now. I can't imagine that they're even considering it, given the fact that you still have a hard time finding either of them.
It's true. It's a strange generation this one has been so far. A poll for you to vote on for next week. There was a rumor of a possible white Xbox Series X out there that was actually shut down earlier this week. But what is the next color variant you would want for your next-gen console, either PS5 or Xbox Series X? You want a red one, gray one, blue, purple, clear? Make sure to vote at IGN.com, and we'll share the results with you next week. I bet clear wins. That's my prediction. That's going to do it for this edition of Next Gen Console Watch. Thank you to both Ryan and Mark. Thank you to everyone working behind the scenes in both of our LA and San Francisco studios to make all this possible. My name is Daemon Hatfield. We'll be back next week, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern on Friday with more PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X news. We'll see you then.